Hey y'all, I'm kind of bored, so I figured I'd make a video for you. This is gonna be on how to rebuild a 1992 Yamaha Seika 2 starter. Now, the reason you gotta rebuild these things is because Yamaha doesn't make them anymore, and to use one off of eBay will cost you about 50-60 bucks. Here's the starter right here. It does work, except it doesn't. Shit, it sounds like it's raining in my house. Must be a window open. I'll be right back. Anywho, a new starter will cost you about 50 bucks, and I got this one sitting here, so I figured that I should go ahead and take her apart. I ordered a rebuild kit online. There it is. It's got the gaskets and whatnot, all that fits inside this butt end and on the top, so you don't have to stuff it with that RTB gasket maker. So I guess first thing we should do is crack this starter open and see what we got going on inside. Bolts. These bolts are 7mm on the end. So I just used that screwdriver bit, and then this front part kind of slides off like that, and then you've got some bearings in there. Those should last the life of the starter. I mean, those really shouldn't crap out. And then you've got this piece that fits in there. I don't really know what purpose it serves other than to center the output shaft, but yep. And you've got these washers here. You've got this black one that you want on top, and then a silver one they put on the bottom, or two silver ones that you stack. So there's those, and then you can just kind of put it back together like that. Then we can go ahead, pop out the butt end. That's what we got going on back there. Now this back plate is the part that we're replacing, and that's all that's in there, along with the O-rings and whatnot. And then there's a little washer right there. It's good to keep track of. Now I'd recommend cleaning off these here terminals. Also, I'll put a link in the description to the starter rebuild kit. It's only 20 bucks. So now this starter did work, as I said before. It's just you had to you had to like hit it, the output shaft with something sharp, or not something sharp, something blunt to get it going. But the problem with that is that when when the output shaft is up against a flywheel, you don't have access to it with a hammer. So I figured that a rebuild kit would be the best way to go. So there's really no need to take this out other than to clean those terminals, which yeah, I could clean them, but I'll get to that later. Next thing to do is to unbolt this right here. I'm pretty sure it's a 10mm. We will see. Yep, she's a 10mm. So whip out your socket or wrench or whatever you got, and go ahead, pop it off. As you take that nut off, you'll see one of these little plastic pieces. They're pretty brittle, so just be careful with them. I don't see any. There are some new ones in here, but if you're just taking this thing apart just to clean everything up, be careful with them because they will break. So if we look in there, in here, you can see the first off, these magnets don't move very easily, and they're pretty worn down. And if you look here, they're marking all up on the terminals on the core of the motor, of the starter. So what we'll do is we'll put all this crap aside and go ahead and crack open the new stuff. Looks like this bearing goes on the output shaft or on the front housing. We're just going to hold on to that for later. So first thing you want to see, first off, look how much further these stick out compared to those. And those are just worn down. So yeah, we'll we'll go ahead and drop this in. Same procedure. You want to take off this first bolt. That's to hold on the wire from the actual bike to retain it. Then it looks like this bolt is a little bit smaller than what we had before, but nope, they're the same size. So yep, that's just a 10 mil. I'm going to take that off and I'll get back to you. As you take that nut off, you'll see one of these little plastic pieces. They're pretty brittle, so just be careful with them. I don't see any. There are some new ones in here, but if you're just taking this thing apart just to clean everything up, be careful with them because they will break. So if we look in there, in here, you can see the. First off, these magnets don't move very easily, and they're pretty worn down. And if you look here, they're marking all up on the terminals on the core of the motor, of the starter. So what we'll do is we'll put all this crap aside and go ahead and crack open the new stuff. Looks like this bearing goes on the output shaft or on the front housing. We're just going to hold on to that for later. So first thing you want to see, first off, look how much further these stick out compared to those. And those are just worn down. So yeah, we'll go ahead and drop this in. Same procedure. You want to take off this first bolt. That's to hold on the wire from the actual bike to retain it. Then it looks like this bolt is a little bit smaller than what we had before, but nope, they're the same size. So yep, that's just a 10 mil. I'm going to take that off and I'll get back to you. Alright, so as you take this part off right here, you're going to want to take this part. It's going to be kind of the nut washer part. The metal washer and this plastic part. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take this. You want to keep these two on the inside. I think it stops it from grounding itself out or something like that. I'm not really good with those sort of electronics, but so you just slide that bolt in through there. You want to make sure that this plate is upside down to us. Have the springs, these springs facing down. So you want this part to be flat, or you want the flat part up. Just kind of shove that metal bolt in there. I don't know why it's not fitting. One sec. Alright, so there's little retainers right here and right here. And there's a little slot for it to fit inside. If you can see that right there where my finger's touching, right in between there, you want to drop that prong in like that. Then you want to stack your washers back on. So it's the two little ones. Then you got the big red one. Then you've got the metal washer. Then the real washer, or the real nut. Just screw that on. And this is going to be the terminal that would take the positive wire. And the negative wire just grounds out. Then you want to take your other shiny washer or bolt, nut, and stick that back on like that. And now would be time for your new gaskets. So I'm going to scrape off all this old gasket maker to make room for the new stuff. So I'll be right back. I got those two O-rings installed here on the outside after I scraped off all that gasket banker. So I'd say we're just about ready for installation. Now the tricky part of this is going to be getting these here terminals or magnets to fit around this. I think that's why there's kind of this open area right here, just so it's a little bit easier to kind of push it in, kind of right there, lock it in. I'm gonna have to take 2 hands to do it. So we've got a few other gaskets to install. So once I figure out where those go, I'll get back. All right. So this piece right here fits in at the top here, so that's where the output shaft comes out. That piece just fits in there like that. Now this one does need a new one. I honest to God have no idea where this little O-ring goes. And then we've got this little metal spacer thing, and that goes in the back bushing. Now this one needs it. I'm not sure how to get it out, but I'll figure it out. I might just drill it. But this one's pretty warped. It's bad, so I'm going to drill this out and then install this new one. Now I don't know if it's supposed to be pressed in or what, but we'll see. So I'll get that drilled out and get right back to you. Alright, well it took some drilling, but I got the old piece out. That's what's left of it. I just bored it down so much with this thing. So the outside diameter of this part is a little bit bigger than a 1/2 inch. So you need some pretty fucking gnarly drill bits to get through that. I think 13 millimeter is the proper size. Yeah, 13 millimeter drill bit to get that thing out. Now I got this bushing. Doesn't fit in perfectly. I think it has to be pressed in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on the shaft like that, and then as I tighten it down, it'll hopefully press it in, or everything's gonna break and I'm gonna have to buy a new kit. So we'll see what happens. So I reckon we can go ahead I reckon we can go ahead and start reassembly. So just do everything that I told you to do except backwards. Remember, black washer first, and then those 2 washers on there like that. This goes on the butt end, and then all small washers and whatnot. And this goes somewhere at this O-ring. I think, yeah, it goes right there on the outside. That's just to keep out moisture from the getting in the crankcase. But this one looks good. We'll keep it for now. Then that's just because I'm lazy. I don't feel like doing it right now. But I'll switch it out at a later date. So let's go ahead and put this thing back together, and I'll get back to you. By the way, these little O-rings, they go on the underside of the bolt. Just looked at that and found out. So yeah, just wanted to show you real quick before I got this thing back together. Turns out all that bushing need was just a few love taps. Get her in there, snuggled up. Yep, that's all I wanted to show you for right now. Alright, there's our rebuilt starter. A little pro tip, I found that before you completely tighten these, I found that it's easier once you kind of have the housings loosely together, that you roll these in like a rubber band into those respective slots. Because if you try to do it, like set them in the spot or whatever, they'll just pop out. So, I guess next thing to do is test it. As you can see, it's dark outside, so I'll test her out tomorrow and see how she does. And then hopefully soon after that, I'll put it on the bike, turn her over, and hopefully get her started. But until then, well, I guess I'll see you in the morning. Alrighty.